Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. Ada for gifting my mom and her husband a book on cheating for their anniversary. I'm 16 years old and I adore my mother, 35 years old, but when I was 10, she had an affair and abandoned us. I visited her as much as I could and she always appeared so happy while I was there, but I despised her new family and stopped going. We seldom ever saw one another after that, save for my birthday and other occasions. She wants us to be close, but I don't want anything to do with her new spouse, so I've stayed away. Except that on February 20th, my father said that he'd be away on business until February 12th, and my grandparents are in Italy visiting cousins, so I had nowhere to go and my mother leaped at the opportunity to have me stay with her. And it just so happened that my mother's anniversary with her spouse fell on a Sunday. I haven't had a nice time here, so all I do is remain in my room doing schoolwork or go out with friends to avoid family gatherings since it stinks watching how lovey-dovey she is with her husband and how they seem to be the ideal family with their girls. The morning before her anniversary, she came to my bed and attempted to snuggle with me as she used to before she left us. But it irritated me since we can't go back in time and pretend everything was the same. So I feigned to sleep and remained coiled up and motionless until she went. Since of this, I began sobbing and felt furious and sarcastic, and because my mother majored in literature, I bought her a copy of Anna Karenina for her anniversary. That novel is about a woman who abandons her husband and children for her lover. I've never read it, but I saw the movie with my girlfriend and thought it was terrible. The anniversary celebration took place on Sunday. Everyone else was having a good time except me, and then people began to give their presents. I handed mine, and when my mother realized what it was, she was taken aback but just responded thank you. The celebration was over in under an hour. But at night, when she was in her bed, I could hear her weeping. So I eavesdropped a bit and heard her talking about the book and how me and her husband were attempting to calm her down. The following day at breakfast, she went for work before I woke up, and her husband called me in a hole and other derogatory terms for giving them that. It's been a few days, and my mother hasn't spoken anything to me. Honestly, I feel so bad that I made my mother weep, but at the same time, I don't want to be here, and she knows it, so Ada. Edit. Fortunately, the moderators have locked this. But for everyone who continues deeming me, here are some things you should know before you do. I handed the book to my mother in an attempt to persuade her that I despise being at her home and among her family, and that it pains me to be there because I sympathized with the son in the movie, not because I want a train to run her over. I do not want that to happen to my mother. I don't want my father to reconcile with my mother. He's content with his fiancée. My father has his reasons for not wanting me to go to therapy, and he is only protecting me. Yes, I stopped visiting my mother because I despise her husband, but she had custody of me on weekends and breaks and could have forced me to be with her. But since being with him or forcing him to be with us, whenever I did go to her was more important, she never tried anything other than going to big events. Story 2. Ada for not allowing family to see my daughter until after they explained why she wet herself. My 7-year-old autistic kid is only half speaking. She becomes deafeningly deaf anyway. She was overjoyed when she arrived to my sister's place on Friday. It was a family gathering and I had to hurry and deliver some packages, so I was gone for about half an hour. Anyway, when I returned, she was dressed differently and definitely disturbed. I'd inquired as to what had occurred and my sister informed me that she had wet herself after being denied a chocolate pop. Now, here's the problem with my girl. She would never purposely wet herself. She is so anxious about her toileting that she is in treatment. I'm not sure what's causing this anxiety, but it's rather strong. I simply brought her home since she seemed to be in a lot of pain. She sobbed in the vehicle but couldn't tell me what had occurred. As soon as we arrived home, she went upstairs and put on a pull-up. Having pull-ups available for her is recommended, so she has more control over herself, and has been incredibly snuggly ever since. She hasn't used her OV devices or signed in at all. She has 2 therapists, and she'll be seeing both of them in the coming week to see if they can help me comprehend what occurred. Family has been terrible. My sister, in particular, who continues to claim that she was being a brat and is doing this all for publicity. I've subsequently informed every family member that they will not see her or me until the truth is revealed, which may seem excessive, but I doubt my daughter would want to see anybody in the first place. Obviously, this has offended a lot of people, particularly those who have no idea what transpired. I stand by my remark. If my sister won't tell me behind my back, pressure from other family members may persuade her. I'm somewhat afraid that I'm being a jerk to others who want to visit her but now can't. Despite having fully stated my predicament, I'm beginning to feel very horrible. Ada? Update. Hello everyone. First and foremost, I'd want to express my gratitude for all of the comments I received but was unable to respond to. It's really appreciated. First and foremost, my kid is okay. She's saying a few words, but not much. She is, however, back to utilizing her communication gadget. On Monday, she attended play therapy, and some of the things she played out were somewhat disturbing. I apologize for not going into more detail. My family discovered my account, and I'm attempting to preserve her privacy. She, too, began talking again that day. There was instant concern between me and her therapist, which was relayed to her second therapist, who she sees on Thursdays. However, I am pleased to report that we now have answers. My father phoned me on Wednesday. He'd been feeling bad and tried to figure out what had occurred. He ultimately persuaded my mother to extract it from my sister. At that time, my sister verified what most of you suspected. My child begged for a chocolate pop and was told no in a rage because my sister was irritated with food. Kiddo became terrified and realized she needed to use the restroom, but she was unable to communicate at this time. She attempted to catch my sister's attention, but she was shouted at again because she believed she was after the cake pop. The last section is a bit sloppy, but one of the guys shouted at her again, effectively frightening her into wetting herself, at which time she began weeping and her cousin went to get my father for her. Everyone there essentially decided not to give me the whole truth so I wouldn't go crazy on them. I was unhappy, and I still haven't contacted everyone. My father did come to visit her yesterday and came to therapy with us, which I believe helped. The therapy session largely validated what had been mentioned, and we're increasing her treatment appointments with that therapist to 2 per week. We're still trying to figure out whether 2 play therapy sessions are necessary, or if we can simply extend the current one. I still haven't talked to my sister because I don't think I'd be able to be nice with her. My father and I are striving to eliminate family members who were clearly not engaged in order for her to visit them more often, as her therapist instructed. I hope you find this update useful. I plan to wait until we had everything straightened out, but it may take months depending on how my kid handles things. Thank you everyone again for your comments, ideas, and recommendations. Etta, for those who inquired, I calculated the number of individuals present. My father, our mother, my sister's father, and his wife. Then there's her father's mother. Our mother has 6 children, including myself and her, and my 5 siblings were present, but one is a kid himself. Then there are 2 half-sisters, a step-sister, and 2 step-brothers for my sister. Except for 2, all of the siblings gathered up had spouses who were present. This equates to 21 adults. Then there were 29 youngsters, including my daughter and her younger brother. This brings the total number of persons to 50. 51 if you count me. That's a lot of folks. I believe I did all of the math correctly. Anyway, it's taking a long time. Some of the children are teenagers, and we're trying to find out whether it was one of the older males that shouted at her, which is why they're keeping the secret.